Breaking news coming out of the Trump administration. He orders the Department of War, formerly known as the Department of Defense, and formerly known before that, the Department of War once again, to start nuclear testing once again. Now, this comes just a day before they meet with China, and I truly believe, I'll be perfectly honest, guys, and I'm just going to say it right here because I don't really care. I say what I want to say. I truly believe that the Western world, we are at war with China. I truly believe that I have no enemy in this world apart from the Chinese government. I truly believe that no matter where you're coming from, if you're a legal migrant, if you're an Irish national, if you're whatever the case may be, the people that are really in this World War III type scenario, World War IV type situation that Ireland will also be involved in will be coming from the Chinese government. They are doing spying technology. They are vastly ahead technology-wise of every country in the world, maybe apart from the US. The US is 100% at war with China. You know, they talk about different countries in the Middle East being the biggest threat to this world. No. Or any African or any other country in the world. No. China is the biggest enemy in the entire world right now. And I know it because whenever I see Trump meeting the President Xi Jinping or whatever his name is, it just is not friendly. I can just tell it's just all for one to get as much as they can off the Westerners. And that's it, guys. We need to start defending our borders from the Chinese.
All right, earlier tonight on Truth Social, President Trump announced that he has ordered the Department of War to start once again testing nuclear weapons and wants that process to begin immediately. He said the new testing program is in response to other nations testing their weapons.
He's talking about China. He's not talking about anybody else. He's talking about China right there. Maybe a few other countries, but I'm just telling you guys what I think the real situation, the real cause of the danger in this world is going to be. It's going to be coming from China.
Here with a lot more on that as we await the start of this historic sit-down between the president and President Xi of China. We have Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas with us. Senator, good to have you. I can go back. I'll read the entire statement because I think it's deep and I think it's profound and I think it's important. And I think it really is a moment that we better pay very close attention to. And as blunt as the president was, he was blunt here. The U.S. has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it, but had no choice. Russia is second. China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years.
I don't think Russia is any threat to the U.S. I'll be perfectly honest. I know a lot of people may laugh at that. Oh, Russia this. Putin is friends with flipping Trump. You can tell. They're friendly. They're very friendly. They're laughing. They're smiling. They're having a good time. It's basic psychology. When you see him meeting with the Chinese president isn't even looking at him. He's looking away. He's kind of has like a half smile on. He doesn't give a shit about America. They want to be top dog. Chinese want to be top dog, but America's top dog, and they don't like that.
Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process begins immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Damn, that's crazy.
Your take on that?
That is crazy.
Well, Sean, I think President Trump is once again reflecting sentiment that President Reagan had in the 1980s. They both regretted the necessity of nuclear weapons. They dreamed of a world in which we might not have nuclear weapons. But as long as adversaries like communist Russia back in the day, and today Russia and communist China have nuclear weapons and they're rapidly expanding their arsenal and they're testing their weapons, the United States can't afford to unilaterally disarm.
See, this is the thing I try and tell Irish people all over the world. Like, lads, there's no such thing as being neutral. You know, we either build up our defense forces here, the Irish defense forces, or we're sitting ducks. We're going to get flipping murdered. Your adversaries are out there right now training to kill you. What are you doing to training to defend yourself? You know, there's no neutral bullshit. This is like some, Catherine Conley, communist, idea. No, there's no neutral in this world, guys. There's either are you prepared to fight or are you a sitting duck? That's it, guys. Always be prepared to fight. The underpinning of society is violence.
Have to make sure that our nuclear arsenal is second to none, that it won't be overmatched by the combined forces of Russia and China, that our aging weapons are still usable, and that our new weapons are designed and made properly. So I agree with what President Trump has announced. It's only sensible
crazy.
that in a world when Russia and China are threatening the United States with a rapidly growing and novel nuclear arsenal, that we have to take steps to defend our way of life, because that's what our nuclear arsenal does. It truly defends our way of life.
Yep.
It really does by every measure.
I love the way he said it. Perfectly well said. You know, our nuclear arsenal defends our way of life. It also defends us in Europe. A lot of people don't understand, like, their nuclear arsenal is defending us in Europe. The UK has nuclear weapons as well, all right?
I will tell you this. If you look at your screen, it looks like the motorcade, President Trump has already arrived moments ago.
Let's go.
It looks like the motorcade, I have to assume of President Xi, is pulling up now as we speak.
Department of
and
War.
this historic meeting, it is, I can see a Chinese flag on the front of that car. And again, on the agenda, the importation of American agriculture, specifically soybeans, TikTok, rare earths, tariffs, the importation by China of Russian oil, and I'm sure issues involving, you know, Taiwan and other issues around the world, fentanyl, a lot of heavy things on the table. I did talk to the president briefly. He seemed optimistic, but he lives for these moments. He loves to sit. He loves to talk. He loves to negotiate.
I hope that Trump can negotiate deals with China. And I hope he can negotiate. I know he can negotiate with Russia, but China just seems like a cold fish to crack. You know, hopefully Trump can negotiate a deal. I want to see peace, guys. I'm a peaceful guy, but you have to have the sword for when the pen fails. You understand?
Yeah, Sean, what you heard from the president earlier today is what I've heard from him in the last week or two as well. He has our farmers close to his heart, our rice farmers and soybean farmers in Arkansas, for instance. He's very worried about our manufacturers who've had lost so many jobs over the last few decades to China. He's worried that China has developed genuine leverage over the United States in some critical points, like rare earth elements that are so vital to modern manufacturing. China has done this by waging economic war against our farmers and our manufacturers and our high-tech industries for decades. For too long, we turned the other cheek and didn't pay attention to it. We acquiesced to it. Thankfully, President Trump is not doing that. He's standing up to China. You and I, and frankly, no one can know exactly what will be accomplished this morning because, as they say, nothing is settled until everything is settled. But
look at the amount of security that he has. Oh my goodness. There's like 20, 30 security guards there. Crazy.
Fortunately, President Trump is going in clear-eyed and hard-nosed.
It looks like that's Monica Crowley greeting President Xi, if I'm not mistaken. I'm only seeing the back of his head, but I'm assuming that is him and his delegation out of the motorcade now entering the building where President Trump is awaiting, who had just arrived a little bit earlier. You know, it's very interesting in the lead up to all of this. You know, there's been a lot of posturing, a lot of back and forth. One of the issues that really stands out to me, rare earths are way more important than I think most people know. You would know because of your position in Congress and in the Senate. And that is, it is imperative, for example, magnets for auto manufacturing. It is imperative for our military development and equipment. But leading up to this meeting, the president did make a huge rare earth deal with 3 countries. He made it with Australia, Japan, and now South Korea. That gave him leverage. I believe all of these maneuvers, you know, put him in a much better negotiating position, no? I mean, of course, the development here domestically.
Yeah, no doubt, Sean. And it was great news today that the president and President Lee of South Korea reached a big trade deal. That's going to be great for American farmers and ranchers, our manufacturers, our defense industry. And as you said, it is going to give the president more leverage if we have more avenues to import rare earth elements. And
it's an interesting thing they're talking about, the rare earth elements, like the lithium, these kind of things. Like, obviously, you know, the U.S. goes for war. They go to war a lot for oil and that kind of stuff. You know, they talk about freedom, but really the U.S., they like to get the oil. They like to get the rare earth minerals. I mean, that's basically what's left on the earth. You know, it's very, very expensive things that they're trying to negotiate here as well. And yeah, hopefully they get a good negotiation deal. It's definitely hard for Trump to negotiate some of these deals. These people are just hard-headed bastards, you know?
They're finished components from countries like Australia and Japan and South Korea, which is, say, friendly allied nations. Again, it's unfortunate that for too many decades, America ignored China's growing leverage in some of these places. President Trump is committed to eliminating that leverage, to making sure that we have supply chains for vital products that are not dependent upon China. So today's news about another trade deal in South Korea is a great gust of wind in our sails as President Trump sits down with Xi. And again, I know that we can't say exactly what's going to happen. Nothing is settled until everything is settled. But I know that he's going in very clear-eyed and hard-nosed in defense of America's interests.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've had real concerns about the algorithms and the makeup of TikTok. That's going to be a big issue as well.
TikTok, in my personal opinion, is a weapon of war. I don't have TikTok on my phone. I don't use TikTok. I will never use TikTok. I used to post a few different videos, but after about 2 weeks, I was like, this platform is not good. This is not a good platform. Short form content, for the most part, you don't want to be part of that kind of whole just spiraling out of content. Short form is not a good way to live, guys. And, you know, the Chinese, it just destroys your brain. It actually shrinks your brain. A lot of this short form content, AI, it's not good.
It looks like that deal is kind of, at least on paper, laid out, where I assume that China will pay us a certain amount of money for that. And I assume that we will control the algorithms as it relates to it working within the U.S. Would you assume that as well?
Yeah, Sean, that's what the law calls for. Congress passed a law last year with overwhelming majorities. It wasn't a law to ban TikTok. It was a law to try to force TikTok to break its ties to communist China. And you put your finger on the critical question, control of the algorithm. Will control of the TikTok algorithm be in the hands of its new American owners and engineers, or will it remain in the hands of communist China, the parent company ByteDance? If it's in the hands of Americans, then it's really just another social media app like Facebook or Instagram or X or what have you. But if it remains in the hands of ByteDance, which is ultimately answerable to the communist Chinese regime in Beijing, then that means it remains a potential tool for communist Chinese propaganda.
And also spying. They don't want to say it, guys, but these platforms, TikTok, they spy on you.
And for data theft here in America.
Data theft. Hey, just say it. They're spying on us. The Chinese are spying on us. It's crazy. Now, I know obviously the US is spying on us too, but at least they're open about it. They don't even tell us that they're spying on us. Then we don't know what they're doing with the information.
Yeah. What do you think as we look at, all these discussions that are going to be going on, do you believe that President Xi will be trustworthy in any deal that he makes?
Well, I think, as Ronald Reagan said, President Trump would probably agree on this point, too. We have to trust but verify when you sit down with a communist leader like Xi Jinping. They have a lot of leverage over the United States, unfortunately. We've worked to reverse that leverage in the first Trump term and now this year as well. But we have even more leverage over them. They need access to our massive consumer market. They want more access to many of the products that we make that they can't make. So I think President Trump has a lot of leverage going in. I think it's important that we maintain that leverage through any implementation of a trade deal, whether it's struck today or in the weeks ahead or in the months ahead, to, again, make sure that we trust but verify.
It was also important, I thought it was a big announcement by the Chinese that they will reduce their import of Russian oil, which is the lifeblood of their economy, which has been fueling their war machine. I thought that was a big concession leading up to today. Senator Cotton, we appreciate it.
Incredible stuff. So they said they're going to reduce their oil coming from Russia. That's obviously going to give the US more of a hold of selling oil to them as well. They sell oil all over the globe. Like, the US can basically function on its own because it has its own oil supplies, but it also sells its oil quite a bit. And hopefully China play the game that they want to play. I love you all. If you want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. We have 33 members now, so I really greatly appreciate that, lads. I love you all. Like I said before, comment, subscribe as well. I think 80% of people aren't subscribed, so I really appreciate, man. Smash the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one, lads. Peace.